Your margins is how you successfully launch products. If you don't have margin, you got to go back to the drawing board and you got to redo it so you have margins. That is the only way you succeed. If you have a product that has margin from day one, you will succeed, because day one, it's not one day. Day one, you will sell and be marginally profitable. All right, welcome to another edition of the Pitch to Product podcast. And I'm Peter.
I'm Bobby.
We got some important cue cards in our hands because I want to set the tone of what we do differently so that we can maybe stop answering this question
Repeatedly.
We are not in the invention help space, right?
Not one bit.
Bobby, that's where you come from.
That's where I came from.
Okay, so that's what I want to clarify. And what's the difference between the invention help space and the manufacturing or product space from your experience now doing both?
All an invention help space can do is try to sketch your product out, maybe do one prototype, and then try to pitch it to companies to see if they like your product enough for them to invest into it.
Correct.
Very little success. Very little success.
I've listed a bunch of questions here, or a lot of statements, right? So we're going to say, here's what the industry is going to tell you to do, right? And this is traditional, the way things have been done in the invention help space, which we are not in.
Not one bit.
So what the industry tells you to do is, number one, you wake up, you got to go protect the idea. And how much money can you spend on protecting the idea, Bobby?
And first thing they try to do is sell you a patent. Right off the bat, sell you a patent. You don't even know what product you're protecting yet. They just want to sell you a patent. Please understand, patents are still a business.
Right.
They're charging you for it.
Well, and look, there's good patent attorneys. We have a great
they
group, right? And patenting is definitely part of this process. But what do you think? Like, I've seen patents that cost, just for a regular patent, is somewhere like 15 to 18 grand.
Easily.
Okay. And then if you want to do all the international patents and you want to have multiple versions of your
all
patent,
the addendums, all the acts. But what you understand with a patent, if you file early, you're going to do a lot of revisions. And scale down.
Right. So I'm going to say roughly, let's put an estimate to that can cost somewhere between $15,000 to $30,000.
Easily.
Right?
From the beginning.
And
for the simplest product.
And what do you have at the end of this?
A piece of paper.
So can you go
if you get the patent?
Right. And can you go sell that piece of paper to someone else?
Not one bit.
Okay.
Still has to be developed.
So once you've spent that money, the next thing that they tell you to do is, well, if you could only go sketch your idea so I can understand it better. And look, in today's world, I don't think that's very expensive, right? You want to sketch to iterate quickly. And I think actually AI could probably do a pretty decent job of that, correct?
If you don't even come to us with a sketch already, you're not being realistic. It's free.
Exactly. Would you pay someone to do a sketch?
No. Not nowadays. You can and used to.
Well, so can I ask, is it really part of the process? I think it is, right?
Well, you want to be able to explain what your product looks like. What's the difference? So a sketch does help.
Right. So they're right in actually saying, okay, well, can you get me a sketch next so I can see what you're talking about? And then when you get them the sketch, here's the next trap. Okay, can you design something in a CAD model to give me a design so I can go show someone in a 3D rendering, right?
Understood. Yes. That's part of the sketching. And now it's detailing it.
And now it's detailing the sketch. And look at a product designer that you can find on Upwork or some free service or some low cost service. That's fantastic. What are you getting in that design?
The same thing you could probably do with CAD. Same thing you could do with Chat GPT.
You kind of get what you pay for. But again, it is the next step. It is part of the process. So no one's lying to you at this point, correct?
No.
What could a design, what could a quick design cost you? $2,000, $3,000, $5,000?
Right? It could. Depends on the intricacies of your product.
Now,
detailing.
Here's the thing that nobody tells you is that design that you did is not designed for manufacturing.
It's not fully designed for manufacturing. Not one bit.
It actually might not even be designed for the next step, which someone now says, okay, great. You protected the idea. You showed me the idea in a sketch. You actually gave me some design. So now I understand what you're trying to show me. Now they're going to say, go get me a
prototype.
Right.
Yeah, but no specifications on the artwork, nothing explaining the depth, nothing explaining what materials we're using. It doesn't give you details for a manufacturer to be able to make it.
I'm going to ask you a question just off the top of your head. How many 3D printers have you seen in the office?
Here?
Yeah.
We have, I think, 6, 7.
Right. Is that prototyping?
Yes. Always going too.
They're always going. Those things are 24/7. I don't want to say I throw them out, but when they break down, I don't have time to fix them. I just get new ones, right?
Yes.
That's part of the process.
Just got a new one 3 days ago.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Prototypes can cost you a ton of money if you're trying to replicate the exact idea you're doing.
Yes.
we had a young lady, and I could probably put the link in here, but she's got a very expensive prototype, and it's a very good step in the process. But her challenge was, now you spent a lot of money. I'm going to say $15,500 to $30,000.
She spent $22,500.
$22,500
for a non-working prototype.
So I hope somewhere along the way, when this video gets edited, we can just keep a little cha-ching tally, cha-ching tally, cha-ching tally, because I don't know what you're up to, but it sounds like you're over $60,000 at this point.
On the low end.
On the low end. Okay. So now you get this amazing prototype in your hand. And what's the objection now that everyone tells you?
Go sell it.
And what do you
go show it to an investor?
Right. And what does that investor say?
How many have you made?
How much does it cost to make?
Exactly.
Right. So you've missed the most important and critical aspects. I swear to God, I sometimes wonder,
the most basic questions.
When people watch Shark Tank, what are they watching? They don't understand the pre-steps to getting on the Shark Tank. Number one questions are, what are your sales?
How many have you sold? Exactly.
Right. And so
what's your cost of acquisition?
What is your margins? Which means, what did you spend for it? So let's do this margin calculation. What does the product cost you, and what can you sell it for? Right. Because all the in between is, you've got expenses that go along, but if you don't have margins
is the main word from the jump.
Right. So the most important part of this process is ensuring that your product idea has margins.
If you can't make profit selling it, then you have nothing to sell.
Yeah. And here's
not in business to give it away.
If you actually don't have, let's say it costs you $30 to sell, and you can sell it for $30, and you have to spend $30 to sell it. How much money are you losing per sale?
You lost what it costs you to manufacture. Plus, you're just not even breaking even. You're losing money.
So look, if anybody wants to take a quick stop and listen to this over and over and over, your margins is how you successfully launch products. If you don't have margin, you got to go back to the drawing board, and you got to redo it so you have margins. That is the only way you succeed. If you have a product that has margin from day one, you will succeed, because day one, it's not one day. Day one, you will sell and be marginally profitable. Then you got to go with the volume, and volume will increase that marginal profitability so you can do more. Exactly. When you have volume and margin, you have a successful business.
It's the same with everything from being a roofer to having a kitchen. What you're paying for and what you're selling it for, those are your margins. That's what you have to make your profit.
So now when people hit the wall, right, they've spent a prototype, what do we say? Probably upwards of $60,000, $70,000 at a minimum. Now, the only course of action you can hope to do, because you're probably broke and you probably spent more money than your spouse and you guys thought about, or you borrowed money from now the only option you have is what they call is get you a license.
Yes.
And Bobby, you come from the licensing world.
That was my world for 23 years.
And I'll let the industry speak for itself. If you want to ask the right question, ask the question that is federally mandated. How many products have, like, when you go through the invention help process, what are the realistic expectations of success? And you'll be shocked at the low number that you get.
I love the fact that they have to, by law, give you the number. But when you look at the number, it is a low number of success. And people make money. And
I will go back one further. You're asking someone to invest and bring that product, like pay to bring your idea. That's crazy to think about. So you're asking someone to pay to bring your idea to market. They either do or they don't. Right. How long is that process? 2 years, Bobby? 1 year?
2 years easily. But it's also, you're asking someone to invest into your dream. Your dream.
Look at, and so this is where, I'd say East meets West. This is where Bobby meets 52 Launch, and 52 Launch meets the inventor process, right? The one thing that people came to us is that after 2 years, they were so worn out, so not even frustrated, because they understood now what they paid for.
Yes.
And they did not understand what they should have asked for.
Exactly.
That is a huge thing. Understanding what you paid for, not translating to what you thought you asked for, is what we're trying to prevent.
100%. We want to have a product. You need a product. You're not going to make profit without a product. Product is necessary.
And look,
you have to have something to sell.
Someone asked me earlier to talk about a little origin story. The origin story is, I didn't know this 5 years ago. People were calling us because they had failed on a Kickstarter campaign to deliver the product. They had failed at or they got frustrated with going through the license process, and they'd spent huge money, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And now I had to turn that process into, hey guys, let's not focus on the past. Let's take what you had. Let's adjust it for the future of making the product. And this is where people this is where the record's going to scratch the needle. And honestly, if you're in this conversation and you don't understand this, like, this is what you need to go educate yourself on first before you talk to us, because I can help you. Bobby can help you. This team can help you actually not waste money to validate your product idea and then go to market and with product, right? Because here's the one thing that you have after the way the industry tells you, you still can't answer the question, what are your margins?
Exactly. But also I will say this, everything that has to be done from the sketch to the marketing stuff has to be done. Let's do it properly in a proper order so we can end up with a product with margins.
Okay.
With margins.
So let's turn the page, right? Because we're going to talk about what we do different. And this is what everyone needs to understand. So here, let's throw that away because that's junk.
Let's go.
What we do, first of all, we're flat fee based. So
100%.
all the services that you just asked, our shift is the same that needs to get done, but we're focused on manufacturing your product. So the very first thing we do is in our accelerator contract, it's market research and strategic foundation. Why is that important?
We have to know the market. We have to know where your product fits into the market. We have to know the benefits of your product towards the market. If we're going to sell the product, we have to be able to explain everything about your product.
We also need to start understanding the next part, which is brand creation and visual identity. That's step 2.
How do they ask for your product?
How do I identify that this is a product that speaks to me? When you see the Apple or Nike logo, what do you feel, Bobby?
You know it's coming from quality. You know where you're getting it from.
You know what your expectation is, right? So if we're going to sell a product to an audience, you have to identify visually and with the brand. That's just the way it works.
How do they ask for you?
Can I ask you, in all your conversations that you had in the Invention Help space, did you ever talk about the brand?
Never.
Visual identity?
Never.
How it identifies
that was for a licensee to do.
How important do you think that is?
100%.
Oh my God. That's step 1.
Listen, everybody, a lot of companies make white t-shirts, but it all depends on the brand name, what you're paying for.
And now people will say, oh, I already got a name. Come on. No. You know, everyone comes in with a name. Those are not trademarkable. They are not protectable. They are probably infringing on other people's rights. You probably can't get the .com, and you can't get all the handles that you need on social media. Where do people search today, Bobby?
The internet.
Yeah. And specifically, like how many times do you get introduced to something on TikTok?
That's TikTok, Instagram. That's what most people advertise on. Nobody's buying it.
So imagine that you have one name on your website, one name on TikTok, one name on Instagram. All names are different. Does that sound like what I say here?
No
a strategic foundation?
Not one bit.
Does that sound like I can visually identify a brand?
No, you think you're buying 2 different brands, 2 different names.
Yes. So that's why the brand consideration, that strategy has to be done from the front. And again, I will tell you, if you think you got your name, there has never been a name that's come into this that has succeeded in the test that we put it through to succeed. And the biggest test is I'm not spending $10,000 to buy a name.
No.
Right? Those .coms are there, but why would I spend 10 grand? It'll be there.
It'll be there
down the road. Let's start with a $14.99 name that fits, that explains the product. There's so many rules that go into that, but you can learn that on other podcasts. Number 3, product design and product development. What does that mean?
We have to prototype this product. We have to look at the materials. We have to look at the thickness. We have to look at, does it pass UL standards if it's electronic? We have to look at everything else before we go to production, before we go to finishing.
So product design and product development sounds like we do the sketching.
Yes.
Sounds like we do the prototyping.
Sounds like we do the CAD.
We do the CAD. You're 100% right. But here's the biggest difference. It's a thing called DFM, Design for Manufacturing, because it's the and here. Product design includes the first 3 things to talk about.
Right.
What no one likes to do is the product development, because that's where it gets hard. Because making your product into a development means you need to have the manufacturing resources that nobody has. It is really easy for them to say, I have 2,000 manufacturers that I can introduce you to. Bobby, can you talk to a manufacturer?
No, not without designing manufacturing.
Any individual, and I challenge you, if you think you can talk manufacturing lingo, I've been doing this 10 years, I still struggle with it.
Everybody comes in with a sketch just as ready to go. No, so not even close.
So what's the manufacturer expectations? They want to understand where's your step file. They want to understand what you're making. They want to understand, how does this pop out of a machine? Hey, we have these machines. Is this signed up or is this designed for the machine? It is a circular conversation. So when we say product design and product development, it is an and, because the 2 of them have to work hand in hand to get a product designed, developed, and actually manufacturable. Because step 4 in our spoke.
One more thing is, most manufacturers are going to ask you for those things when you go to them. So they're going to send you somewhere else to go get it done, where we're doing it in-house already.
Which means on the old process, you got to go back to someone that you haven't talked to 3 years ago that designed something that maybe not around, or is going to say, well, I don't know what they're talking about. I gave you a design.
Exactly.
Design is not the way something is manufactured. It is just a design. It
Oh, it is.
looks like your product. It could probably be 3D printed, but the way it pops out of a plastic injection molded tool, or the way it comes off an assembly line, or the way it goes through the manufacturing machines that make things, it's just not designed for that.
I will admit.
Right? So design and design for manufacturing, two different things. But here's where step 4 comes in. Manufacturing preparation. Spoke 4 is the culmination of making sure that the expertise that is needed is available to my brand creation team.
Yes, sir.
That's available to my product design team, and that we can actually, the product development team. There's 3 people having this conversation on how do you, not just 3 people, 3 teams.
3 teams
that are having this conversation about your product. Now, I always say the 5th spoke is what I call the continuity spoke, which is marketing strategy and tactical implementation. Let's break that down. Why do we use the word tactical implementation?
Strategic.
It has to be strategic. It has to be tactical. There cannot be, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to move forward. I didn't know that that's how we want it designed. I didn't know that that was part of the brand conversation.
Those are conversations we're having the whole time. And that's the goal.
I tell people all the time, like, we have 65 incredibly talented people, but there is 5 people I hold accountable to make sure that number 5, that market strategy and the tactical implementation of a product go succinctly and don't get out of hand. They get the end result. The objective at the end has to be, we're launching this product that we started with. Yes. And if you don't have that all under one roof, man, I don't even know how you do it.
Just delays, conversations, and you're dealing with someone in China, someone over here, they're not talking to each other.
So you've been in, like, look, you come in the office, and I encourage everybody, the door is open. You want to come see chaos that is controlled and has valued purpose?
Yeah, it's fun.
Come in and see it, because we have an open concept, right?
Yes.
Every team is sitting aligned for the steps that they have to work together, because it is not, if marketing says something shouldn't be designed the way it should be, that we're thinking of designing, that's a pretty important thing to know right now.
Right at the beginning.
And let's say we even went further and we found it out through later process of discovery, we're going to go back and change that.
And we're right there next to each other. We don't have to go across town to go talk to someone else or to a different city.
I always say this, like, some people, I do give people PTSD. I yell Justin's name all the time. I yell Steve's name all the time, because I need to react when the market changes, or where things need to be adjusted, or when we have to have a podcast to educate people.
Always changing.
Do we have time?
No.
Never.
Take advantage of it now.
You got to do things quickly. You got to pivot fast, and you got to measure twice to cut once. So that is the marketing, strategic, and tactical implementation. That is just if you're not doing that, it's like building a new house without a general contractor. Exactly. You're letting your 15-year-old kid actually manage the process, because you don't know what you don't know.
No.
And look, there's times where I don't know what we don't know, but that's why we have a team.
That's why we have the people with us.
So
that's why we hire them for.
Are you confident in our team, Bobby? You've been here
100%. First of all, I wouldn't have left what I was doing to come here if I wasn't.
Right. So I can assure, and again, because I've hand selected most of this team, I know what we need to do. They were all probably third-party contractors that, in that process, they weren't under my roof, so they it was too long to get results. Now that they're all under one roof, like you said, we're not yelling across the room. My God, it is like, stop the presses. Let's make changes. We just discovered something, and we can adjust quickly, because it really is measure 10 times before you cut once into a production. So
it costs too much at the end and start all over again. Let's catch these things early.
All right. So the biggest question we have is spoke 6, the bridge meeting and go-to-market strategy. How important is that?
Before you go to production, you want to know your product. You want to know what it takes to deliver. You actually want to know how long it takes to get here if it's coming from China. You want to know what it's going to be packaged in. You want to know how the box looks in. You want to know what your logo looks like. You want to know everything about this product before you go to production, not what half of this or half of that. Let's get it done right, so when we order, we're ready to go.
So I'll translate that too. I think that sounded very due diligence, that like we're double checking everything before we take that big step forward into production. Because when you cut into a tool, Bobby, or let's say you made a tool, and just for those of you can look up what tooling means. It is a big chunk of steel that you cut out so you can plastic injection mold something, or you invest in tooling for mass production. So cut and sew, you can cut things out once with a big press. Those are things.
They call it a jig and construction.
Tooling, fixtures, exactly. All those things. But if you don't have the tight answers and if you don't know what you're expecting, what would you get for the end result?
Something not working. You have flaws.
That sounds like extreme.
It's going to have returns.
That sounds like extreme failure to me. And that, I can't guarantee success, but I can ensure failure is not
You're
an
not
option.
going to have failures.
That is that. And I'd go back to the drawing board to make sure that that doesn't happen. And the bridge meeting isn't a like, okay, go or no go. It is just a revalidation of everything that we've decided on that point, just to double check one last time. If you're getting on an airplane, what's the first thing a pilot does when they get in the cockpit?
They assure you, here's what we're doing. The stewardess comes in. Here's the emergency.
They have a pre-checklist. They have a walk around. They have everything they have to do, because do you want to discover a problem in the air?
No.
No, you do not.
No.
So I equate that to the same thing. We do not want to have a problem when the product arrives here and the consumer gets it in their hand and they go, "It's a piece of crap.
Right.
This doesn't fit in my hand. It's not the right color. It was too much money." Like, those are all the things that kill your sales. If you don't do the proper preparation, you will end up with improper product.
Bridge meeting is so important.
So important. And again, does that sound like a great value?
That's part of the plan. It's what, if you're not doing that, you're missing out.
So look at, I would constantly tell you that your manufacture your product equals sell your product. If you don't manufacture right, you can't sell it. If you didn't design it right, no one's going to buy it. If you don't have your audience built and know where you're going to target them, no one's buying it. You have no idea. It is so much harder to sell something than it is to make something.
Yes, it is.
And if
you don't want to have a warehouse, something not selling.
However, if you make it right,
it
meets the consumer's needs and wants, which is what we look for, unique value propositions, this is the way you succeed.
Let's get it out there. It's got to get brand recognition. People have to be able to see it.
And look, I'm going to add one last thing, because there's one step before this. We have to do one thing. I don't want to move forward unless I know three things. Can I sell your product? Meaning, because will this sell? Because if the market doesn't allow it to sell, then the second part is, what do I need? Can I make this, right? The second thing is, can I make this? And the third thing is, do you understand that you are, like, we're starting a business?
100%. This is a business.
So
this is a business. This is your
right,
dream
Steve,
job.
I have my glasses on. What were you trying to tell me?
Yeah, exactly. We couldn't see it.
All right. So I thought I covered that, but thank you, Steve. The one-stop shop. Look, I have an incredible team to help make sure that we are the continuity of this conversation's happening. Look at, when we are a one-stop shop, which is what our accelerator program does, which is what you absolutely need, except the industry has told you that there's another way. It's a shortcut. They're all trying to take nickels and dimes from you. I'd rather we get organized, structure a campaign, do it all under one roof, all in one, to get to the end result, to launch a successful product. And before we do anything like that, the only question I have is, will this sell?
Has to.
And that's what Bobby and I do every day. We are idea consultants, because how many ideas have you listened to in your career?
In my career?
Yeah.
At least 20,000.
Yeah, I'm probably in the same boat. 20 to 30,000 conversations. How many?
Like 20 some this week alone. Very few.
Yeah. So
because people aren't prepared. They don't look at the market as the market.
I'm going to say, I think I'm surprised that like 10% are really good. And out of those 10%, so for me, 30,000 or 20,000, we've only launched 741 clients as of today, I think.
It's a funnel.
It's a funnel, and the 10% are really good. The 1% that move forward have the ability to be confident, have no doubt, and find the resources and the capital to go through the process. We can have the capital conversation when we get on a call. I highly recommend at this point, you're comparing us to everybody else. We are not like anybody else. Everybody else is going to tell you the parts that they do. I do all the parts, so I don't need them, and I manufacture. And I don't take the arrogant statement that I'm going to introduce you to manufacturers. I will put my name on your product and actually be your manufacturer. So if there's concerns or questions, we own it. The company's here.
Our process is very, very matter of fact. We're going to have a Google Meet. We're going to meet. We're going to have a very simple discussion, go over your product, where you're at, what we do. If it goes further from then we all come in together. Now let's start a plan. But you're going to have everything in writing after the first meeting as to the points, as we're working, at what point, what's happening for you. It's a plan. We're not doing anything we're not doing for the clients, guys. Everything has to be cohesive, has to move fully, so we could have a proper product and launch a good product.
What would Biggie say?
And if you don't know,
now you know.